This is Books and Tickets, and we are delighted to be joined once again with the negotiator, Jay Byrne. First of all, happy 2025 to you. Obviously, I've seen you were doing a bit of traveling in America. You were meeting Flipper and the cast of Fast and Furious over Christmas. A nice wee reward for you, obviously, after a hectic 2024.
Yeah, it was a nice trip with the family. Yeah, I like to get away the Christmas week. I don't like that week. It's quite boring from Christmas to New Year. So just like to get away. I done it last year as well. So
I guess it's one of them, isn't it? Like between Christmas and New Year, people don't know what day of the week it is. Whereas if you're in a different country, you can do what you want to do rather than shops being closed and everything else. But it's a nice reward for you, I guess, obviously, after probably what the tail end of 2024 with your last show of the year, where you're having so much stress on the fight week and everything else with it. It's good to get away and relax and recharge the batteries before. It's looking like obviously it's going to be a really big 2025 for JB Promotions.
yeah, it was good. Good, nice break. Sorry, I just went to the fucking phone on silent. It was good to get away. Just it's nice, as you said, that week. It's just a bit fucking all over the place. You know what I mean? We have a big Christmas in the house there. We had both families down, and there was a good few people. It was over a dozen people in the house, and then we go to the Mams and Stevens Day as normal. Just from that week to New Year's and getting back to work and all, it just seems to be a bit of a dead week. It doesn't. I don't really do an awful lot. Just sit around the house and kind of get bored. So last year we went to Vegas on the 26th, I think, or the 26th. We went to Vegas last year, and this year we said we go to Orlando, and I don't know what will be next year, but it's nice. It just gets you away, and them countries kind of are big at Christmas, so it's real Christmassy when you're over there and that as well. So yeah, no, it's good. Nice to end the year that way, to be honest.
Seven shows obviously done just over a year. Like really probably, obviously seen he's obviously shared posts, obviously promoter of the year, box of the year in Senan Kelly, prospect of the year Matthew Tyndall, knockout of the year obviously Shane McConnell when obviously he was on a JB show. Then obviously Irish boxing's prospect of the year and fight of the year as well. Like all the accolades are coming in for JB Promotions and the fighters from fights in 2024.
Yeah, look, it was a good year. Like I mean, there wasn't that many runners for the promoter of the year. There wasn't too many running consistent shows last year, so we kind of capitalised on that, which was great. But yeah, no, it was an honour to win it. Like it's again when you're going into the game, and anyone in the game knows how difficult it is. So to get one show over the line was great. To get two was even better. But then to continually run them the way we did, and the success we had with them, and success isn't about making money. Success is watching the boxers progress and watching young kids starting their career and progressing nicely through them and getting to title level and things like that. So it was a good year. It was a good year. It's kind of looking back at it. You don't really ever stop, and even over Christmas, yeah, you stop and you have a holiday, and but you're constantly talking boxing and you're constantly doing something. You're onto a matchmaker or you're onto something. There's always something going on. If it's not, a matchmaker or the boxers, it's yourself or it's Irish boxing or because I like to keep you in the loop as well and keep you up to date with what's going on and things like that as well. So it's no real rest from it, to be honest. It's just consistently moving, and I like that. I know I need to be kept busy. I'm the most ADHD man in this country. Like I mean, I have to be doing something. I can't sit still, and when I do, I get bleeding depressed down my mind. I'd be bored down my head, and I wanted to be doing. So I like to be doing stuff. So people who say, "Oh, you're mad doing this and doing," no, just leave me, let me be, let me go. It's a butch to say when things get done. His ADHD must have been on him last night. He got a load of stuff done. That's just the way I am. So this year will be no different.
Do you feel like it's sort of, I guess where, you look at the grand landscape, obviously 18 shows in a year and obviously just in 2024, you 33% of them shows. Like, do you feel that sort of pressure as like I guess JB Promotions in its infancy, it's and you've already two shows announced for 2025. Like, do you feel that pressure? Obviously you're becoming JB Promotion becoming a huge part of Irish boxing, like you're putting on quite a majority of shows than anybody else. Do you feel that sort of pressure to keep producing?
No, not a pressure as such. But like, people might disagree with me on this, but I actually feel that I have helped. massively bring boxing back to the south of Ireland, because you asked me before about why I got into it, and the reason I got into it was because there was no shows in Dublin and there was no shows in the south, and the show had been cancelled last September, and I just seen a gap there, and I said, well, let's help the boys out, let's do a show and see how we get on. And that's how we got on with it, because there was no shows. But it seems to be I've brought shows, start doing consistent shows, and all of a sudden now there's others doing them, which is great, because the more the better. The only people that benefit is the boxers. And even now we've moved to Belfast and we're going to the Devonish. There hasn't been a boxing event in the Devonish in, I think it's 5, maybe 6 years. 5 years,
I think was the last one.
Oh, there was 121, sorry, 4 years. So there hasn't been any shows in the Devonish. I've announced a show in the Devonish, getting a bit of hype behind that, and we're building that. And now I believe Paddy has announced one for the Devonish in April. So that means, I'm not saying I've brought it back, but again, it looks like, maybe people have seen activity. Jeez, the Devonish, I haven't thought of that place for a while, and all of a sudden now the Devonish looks, and I think there's others up there planning on doing shows. So you never know. It could be them numbers of shows could be bigger this year again. And look, if we have our part to play in it, and if it took me to grab it by the horns and take a punt at it to get other people thinking the same and seeing what we were doing and say, yeah, I want a piece of that, isn't that great? Because it just means that there's more variety of shows, there's more boxers going pro, there's more domestic fights happening and things like that. The most important thing is, though, everyone realises it's the one sport, it's the one industry, we all need to work together. You can't be you going over here, you going here, you going here, and no one talking, and you can't match this fella against that fella because he signed with him, and everyone just needs to work together, and I believe that's what's going to happen this year.
Obviously, just you say that, obviously your February 8th show, your first show outside of Dublin, you're obviously your 8th show in total since November 2023. Like, majority of the card aren't even JB Promotions fighters, so I guess that shows it in a nutshell. I think 3 of the 10 fights on the card are obviously aligned to JB Promotions. The rest are with other promoters and other managers. So that shows it in a nutshell. You're starting 2025 off, and you're trying to help fighters from other stables get fights rather than probably just your own as well.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's exactly it. Again, I said it from day one. There's a lot of my shows. I think my last show in Dublin didn't have a massive amount of my own fighters on it either. But again, it doesn't bother me. If it's a boxer that needs to fight, wants to stay busy, can do its numbers, I'm happy. I don't care who to sign with. I've said that, and I don't like promoters that won't put people on a show if they don't sign a contract to be with them. I think that's disgraceful, and I believe that's happening a little bit as well in other areas. So that needs to stop, because yes, I like to sign fighters, I like to manage fighters, I like to help people's careers and things like that. But at the end of the day, if a fighter's not signed with me and he wants to be on my show and he can do his job being cover the cost of tickets and get himself in shape, I've no problem. I'll work with anyone.
Is that something to sort of, I guess, with JB Promotions, obviously you've always said from day one, from that very first press conference you done, that you want to work with everybody. Is it probably, I guess, is it for others now to sort of look at that and go, this is why your JB Promotions brand's building, and obviously because you're happy to work with everybody, you're happy to put different fighters on. Like, I wouldn't like to count the amount of fighters, by the end of February that have been on JB Promotions cards. Like, how many other promoters can sort of go, we can do them same numbers in a year, helping so many people out?
Yeah, well, look, we've had since we started, we've ran 55 professional fights. 5 of them were title fights, and 4 of our fighters won professional titles. We've sold. It's not a massive amount of tickets. People think, if 7 shows must be raking in. We've sold about 5,000 tickets over the course of the time. But what we've done is we've given, as you said, loads of fighters that aren't promoted to or managed by us an opportunity to box and to box regularly. Like, there's a number of them that I have that are on my shows regularly that I don't even manage, and I've no problem with that. It's important. And look, if other promoters are coming in and they're planning on doing the opposite and the whole lot, it just won't last for them, because I talk to 90%, 95% of the other managers and promoters in the country, and I have a good relationship with them. Well, I feel I do. And we're all working in the right direction. And as a company's mindset hasn't changed from day one. Our projections are on course for where we want to be and what we want to do. So if anyone doesn't want to work in that kind of an environment where we work together and we bring out the best for Irish boxing and Irish boxers, like what we said since day one, well then just you go and do your own thing and see how long it lasts and see how good you get on. Because I think it's changing, and I think people are willing. Look, I know it was money driven, but look at Hearn and Warren and Shalom, and they're all working together now. I think boxing needs to do that. I think it's doing it. It's if you don't want a part of it, that's not the way you want to be. Well, sod off, go and do something else.
I agree. Obviously, before your first show obviously starts, obviously on the 8th of February, with obviously BBC, obviously back in boxing and Northern Ireland here, obviously with Mark Dunlop. Obviously, I know it's something you banged the drum about since day one, since you get involved in, particularly in the south. It's obviously it's getting the major broadcasters there. Like from your perspective, obviously, how big is it getting the likes of the BBC involved in obviously Irish professional boxing in Belfast? Like it's obviously it's opening up the another spectrum of people that maybe haven't seen boxing in quite a while.
Yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely huge, and it's great. And it's great for all them boys to get the box on national TV. It's phenomenal. It's actually brilliant. I think, and I look at, I take their hands off if they offer it to me. But I think, like the Zone and all these places, they're platforms, huge, phenomenal platforms. But your auntie, and your uncle, and your neighbours and all can't watch on them because they don't have subscriptions to the Zone, and they're not going to sign up to pay for the Zone. Just because you're fighting on it once in a blue moon. Whereas BBC, TG4, RTE, Virgin, they can just turn it on. There you are, you're on the telly. So the viewing numbers will come up. And when the viewing numbers come up, it puts eyes on our sport. So BBC got to go across the UK and the whole lot. And I think that's what's needed because I think Ireland's just being forgotten. Ireland, yeah. There's no boxing in Ireland. So that was the place where things happened and blah, blah, blah. So I think the more ways that come on it, people start realising, because one thing Irish people can do is drink and fight. And it's been shown all over the world when we go to amateur events and even on some of the professional fighters we've had over the years, the world titles we've had for such a small island, we can fight. And yeah, look, the more eyes we get on it, the better. And we will get TV at some stage because you can't keep banging on the door and not get an answer. Someday they'll answer. And we're constantly talking and we're working with other people that are involved in TV and stuff like that. So their time will come and we'll do that. And hopefully Mark has his thing going on TV, and then we'll have something going on TV, and then it's just going to build and build and build, and then it's going to give the younger generation of amateurs a place to look and go, yeah, I want to be. That's what I want to do as a future. I want to be a professional boxer, because in the last 4 or 5 years hasn't really been a place that should be saying to someone, yeah, you should go and become a professional boxer.
It's good people to live in dreams, isn't it? Obviously, obviously done an interview. It's just went out, obviously, since we've been on with Tomas McCann, and his dream was never to be in Olympics. His dream is a professional world champion. And when you're not seeing boxing, obviously here regularly on the TV, you have to people have to dream of signing with an Eddie Hearn or signing with a Frank Warren or signing with Oscar De La Hoya or vice versa, because there was no big mainstream here unless the big shows came. And we've seen that flood of them coming at times with Mick and McKinney and even with Anto Kakachi. Obviously Frank Warren was here with Conor Quinn and Pierce O'Leary obviously last year as well. So like these big networks are coming in, but it's important at the same time that the smaller networks, like the likes of yourself, the likes of your Mark Dunlop, the likes of your Paul, coming into the thing where you can get that coverage to show that it's not just big time boxing that's here, the small house shows that are the paramount. It's people can't get to the big time unless it comes through the small house circuit.
But that's never been the case, and Ireland has never had that. We've never had, boxing on the TV once a month or, regular like the way in the UK it is. It's on all the time. So we need that. That's what we need. Like, and hopefully working together with other promoters and managers, and I always say 2 heads are better than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heads are definitely better than 1, and the likes of Mark and Conlon Boxing and the other people that are out there. Neil Power does a couple of shows and things like that. But we get these people working together and we get everyone working together, and you're going to make best shows. Because I tell you, if I can get a TV on board for April, and I'm in talks, there is talks going on with, obviously it's no secret, I've been reaching out to our Irish TV channels since day dot, and I'm still at it. And we have broke way as in we've got in, they have answered the door and we've discussed and we've put things together. But if I can get the TV for April 12th, I can guarantee you it's going to be potentially one of the best Irish boxing cards that the South has ever seen. Because I'm adamant from day one when I booked that stadium date for April 12th, I will not run that show where it's just 10 lads fighting against journeymen. I've told all my fighters, you want on that card, you're in a real fight. You're in a 50-50 fight, you're in a domestic fight, you're in a title fight. And I think if we can get TV and you have a card of 6 or 7 domestic Irish fights, Celtic titles and Irish titles and things on the line, that'd be massive. Because, again, Irish can fight. So it doesn't matter if the two lads aren't elite level, big names. Like, you know, people like to watch a fight. You put two lads in 4 or 5-0 against each other for a Celtic title or an Irish title, and they have it like Shane Meehan and Sean Murray. They weren't elite level amateurs. They weren't big names. That was a cracking fight. It was upper fight of the year and that as well. You know, Dave Ryan, Tony McGlynn, both of them never won elite championships or anything like that. Had no professional titles. That was another fight. That got fight of the year with the IrishBoxing.com. So they're the type of fights we want to put on, and you put 6 or 7 of them on a TV card, or 5 or 6 of them on a TV card. That's viewing, and I'm telling you, the numbers that will generate, the TV people, the TG4s of this world, or RTEs, or anyone else we can get, would see numbers like that. I can guarantee you they'll want to come back, and then that's when we broke the mold, and then that's when we say, right, this is it. We're going to do 2 or 3 of these shows a year, but these shows will be our pinnacle shows. These will be the one when you've fought your 2 or 3 fights in the Red Cow, in the Devonish, or smaller venues, to get yourself up, to get yourself eligible, get your 6 rounders in for your Celtic, get your 8 rounders in for your Irishes, and so on and so forth. And that's where you go. Then you go to that level, and when you win that, you win your Celtic on the first one in, say, April. Well, then you're fighting for your Irish in the one in July or wherever it may be, August. And then if you win that one, who knows, it could be a defence or an international title on the next one. And that's how we grow them. And I think that's going to do. And you got to remember, the eyes are coming in and watching all these 50-50 clashes and domestic clashes and really entertaining fights. We're going to start gaining fans then. Jesus, remember your man who fought in that show? He was brilliant, and keep an eye out for the next time he's fighting, and it could start generating ticket sales for the people and so on and so forth, and a bigger profile, because once mainstream TV is on board, you're going to get mainstream media regarding the newspapers and things on board, and it has a snowball effect. But that's my goal, that's my plan. Year one, when we set out, was, right, well, let's announce 6 or 7 shows. Let's see, can we pull it off? Let's get that small venue of 800 people or so filled consistently. And then next year we'll move to the stadium. And over the course of the year, let's see, can we fill the stadium? And if we get that filled, year 3, please God, we'll have built so many up to a certain level. We may have got a 1 or 2 little superstars, and we might be able to get into the 3 arena and start there and hopefully start bringing back the big days. And that was my goal from day one, and year 1 went to plan. And I'm very confident that working with the right people and doing the right things, we can achieve our goals for year 2 as well.
Just obviously, as you're speaking there, obviously on April 12th, obviously, I shared a post, obviously, you put like a sort of wish list the other day, and it's sort of one of them where you're seeing that list and you're sort of hoping that someone can come true. Like, for anybody that obviously hasn't seen it, obviously the fight you'd shared was Declan Geraghty versus Dylan Moran or Ray Moylette, Senan Kelly versus Dave Ryan, Paul Loonam versus Gerard Hughes or Myles Casey, Glenn Byrne versus James Freeman or Jake Tinklin, the winner of Peter Carr and Jason Harty versus Paul Ryan, and Richie O'Leary versus Sean Murray. So, like, I guess you're already working backwards from April, because obviously that was a plan for February 8th and February 15th. But, like, when you start seeing 5 or 6 of them fights could potentially be on the card, like, you're sort of nearly going, I'm not even going to have to announce tickets are on sale. They'll fly out that quickly.
Yeah, please God, that's my job, is to put on a night's entertainment, and entertainment is good fights, and then obviously a bit of music or whatever you put on the side. But so when them fights are done, as in verbally agreed, like, I wouldn't have just thrown them out there for nothing. I've discussed every one of them fights have been discussed. Well, no, sorry, not everyone. 90% of them have been discussed. Declan, I haven't discussed Declan's thing. I've said to Declan, would you be interested in fighting one of these? And he says, if I come through February 8th, they'd be 2 names and I'd love to fight. I haven't gone near the 2 opponents because Deco hasn't come through February yet either. Senan, Dave Ryan. It's agreed on both sides. Senan wins on February 8th. He is looking to go back to the 140. That was always his plan. And if by some chance he was to lose in February, he'll have to get a win, obviously, and go back down to 140 anyway. But either way, Dave Ryan is happy to take the fight. Senan's happy to take that fight. That fight is basically done. But again, Senan has bigger job in his hands. He has Declan Geraghty on February, so that has to come through that. He has to not get injured, and there's a lot before that fight can be obviously signed, sealed, and delivered. Richie and Sean, we were hoping Richie was going to have a 6-rounder, which he is in February, and we were hoping Sean Murray was going to get out in February and get a win, and then look at making the two lads, potentially maybe a Celtic title. But I don't know if that would be approved. There's people in line and ahead of them and stuff like that. So we will suggest that the both lads have agreed that they want to fight each other. So look, again, another thing as well is people can't think just because you're having a domestic, it always has to be for a title. That's not the case. So I would be looking at potentially saying to the lads they could both fight in a 6 or an 8-round clash as well. And the winner then can fight for a Celtic or an Irish title. They're both eligible then. So that'll be, I think that fight should be agreed. I can't see an issue with that. Paul Loonam, he's made no secret about wanting titles, wanting them at his weight. Ger and Rudy have a big fight on March 1st. That's a big fight for the boys. Conor Carr is floating around. I don't know what his plans are. I didn't put him on the list because I wasn't too sure what he's at. Ger has said he's open to the fight. I seen that the other day commented on the Oak. He obviously has bigger plans, which is March 1st first, so that one has to get sorted. And Myles Casey is said he needs one fight at the weight before he'd fight Paul Loonam, but he definitely would fight him. If you remember the interview, he said he'd fight everyone, including Mike Tyson. So I have offered Ian the fight. He did say he probably needed one fight to get out, so I have offered that Myles could potentially come on our February 8th or February 15th card in Dublin, get his win at the weight, and then we can announce Paul and Myles. So everything's done here, and it's just whether he does want the fight or whether he doesn't on that one. So Glenn and James, I believe, is out on March 1st or February 1st, sorry, on the BBC card. I have asked Ian, can you get that fight as a 6-rounder? And could Mark do us a favour and make that a 6-rounder? Then James is eligible, and we could make James and Glenn. There's no issues there, and Glenn will accept that fight, no problem at all. I deal on behalf of Glenn, so that's another fight. Now again, that's gone to Ian, and I haven't heard that back since we proposed that. So on our end, we're doing everything we can. Paul Ryan, that fight was put up, and Paul Ryan said, I'm not hard to find, and I wrote back to him, I'll have a chat with you after the fight is done. So when that fight is over, from the sounds of Paul Ryan, he's open to fighting the winner of that fight. So we can reach out to Paul and his team, sit down, have a chat, and see where we go with it. Paul is fighting in February. He has a fight in February, so he would probably need an 8-rounder to be scheduled for an Irish title. But again, I'm sure that's something that his team could sort out for him, no problem. So all them fights are doable. They're all, in my opinion, well capable of being made. There's other ones there as well. I don't manage the fighter, so I can't really say an awful lot about them. But I know Daniel O'Sullivan is chomping at the bit for his Irish title. I spoke to Pascal about Cathal Crowley. He's open to fight. He wants to fight for a Celtic title or an Irish title at super middle. So I have him. I have the two lads as well. I love working with Pascal and his team. They're great to work with. So I'm looking at trying to see what I can do for them as well. We did look at potentially John Boyd would fight in Belfast it was actually Sean Murray he was going to fight in Belfast, and then potentially the winner would fight Daniel then for the Irish title, but John had an injury over December and Christmas, and that's how we didn't want to put him into too big of a fight for his first fight back, because the hand, we don't know if the hand's going to be 100% or not, so that just pulled that back a bit. But there's other people at the weight, there is other people at the weight, so we'll be looking to help and accommodate the lads as well for their belts. So yeah, no, it's all systems go. There is other stuff talk. There is other things happening in the background as well about that card. But again, all will be revealed when we have official and concrete news.
obviously with obviously I know you're doing a press conference obviously this Saturday obviously in Belfast, like with obviously having quite a lot of fighters on the card that obviously aren't aligned to yourself. I guess the connections there with obviously their managers and everything else, but like it's a hope then that you can get more domestic fights made obviously through that. Obviously, I know quite a lot of these fighters they're still within the first sort of year of being a pro as well. So I guess there's no rush on them; they'll go at their own speed. But is that to sort of build that relationship with them, or you can then get them into domestic title action, or even get them working like Barry mcreynolds obviously fighting second time obviously on your show, so building that connections as well. So help plan and develop fighters along the way as well.
Yeah, I like Barry. Barry's my type of fighter. Barry's Barry. Someone put up Barry McReynolds on the out there last week, I think it was, and he said, "I'll fight anyone at me way next year." But I like that attitude, you know. I know Paul, his manager. We go back when I used to box in the matchroom days. It was Paul who I used to deal with, and he's a terrible nice guy. I really, really like him. Very fond of him. Got on well with him. Always have since them days. And yeah, Barry's an Irish kid. You know, it makes sense for him to do his apprenticeship on my shows. Just keep building up and keep building up. And then Paul has great connections at the likes of Matchroom and Queensbury and that, and Conlon and that. And I'm sure when the time is right, Barry will just burst onto the scene, and people won't really know of him on the bigger scene, and all of a sudden he'll be 4 or 5-0 and ready to go. And I think that's the way a lot of these kids who sign on the bigger platforms need to work. Like even players like Owen Lavin and that. Gabrielle Dawson and Bradley. Now Bradley obviously has his record because he's only coming back. But if them guys can just keep churning out wins on the smaller cards, get that experience of having your 4 rounders, getting your 6 rounders, maybe pick up an old Celtic title or something like that, and then bang, when they get launched onto their bigger platforms with their promoters, it'll be like, whoa, who's this lad? He's 5-0, he's 6-0, and they're well accomplished, you know. And any learning or hiccups they have to make, they make it on the smaller scene rather than look like the Campbell Hatton and all them lads. They got crucified online because they're supposed to be superstars and things like that, and they struggle at the start of their pro career, and the whole world turns on their back. So I think that's a better way of doing it. And I've discussed it with Paul, and Paul's very happy for us just to keep going with Barry and keep Barry moving. So yeah, I like that Barry on the car, but I like the same with all of them. Like there's loads of lads that again just need activity.
Obviously February 15th. Like where would you sort of, you've Deco and Senan obviously been rescheduled. Obviously Peter Carr and Jason Harty's rescheduled after Jason's obviously his hand injury. Like where would you sort of put February 15th in line with the shows you've done so far? Like is it the potential obviously to be the best card yet? Like where would you sort of be on that one?
Yeah, yeah, I'd like to. I think that card would be the best card to date. Looking at the two title fights on it, and I think they're two 50-50s. I don't think anyone can really honestly separate the winners. Don't think you could. Like the fighters, I just don't look at them and go, they're two total different styles. I think in the main event, you've got Deco and Senan. We discussed it before. Like Senan's going to come forward. He's going to put pressure on him. Senan can box as well as fight. You know, Deco's with the heavier weight on him. He's not as fast on his feet as he used to be. Still has the lovely punch selection he showed that against Tinklin at times. You know, it's a curious fight, that one. It always say, people say it depends what Deco turns up. It depends what Senan turns up. You know, that has the makings of being a great fight. The co-main event, Peter Carr, Jason Harty. You know, people are saying, it's the boxer against the fighter. Peter will argue with that and say he's a boxer, and he wants to show people his skills and prove people wrong. And then Jason Harty has a name, Heavy Hitter Harty, so he classes himself as a puncher. So I don't think that fight goes to the bell. I think that fight's going to be a stoppage. I would nearly be sure that fight's going to be a stoppage. I can't pick the winner.
It's a boxing fan's wet dream, sort of that sort of fight, because it's sort of 12 months ago, like none of them were on the sort of scene. Like Jason was on the scene and sort of went away with injuries and stuff like that. But like it just goes to show you, that what 12 months can do in the sport, and like it's got people excited. The fact that two guys are happy to put their O's in the record. Again, it's similar to obviously other fights. It's been on JB Promotions cards. People are happy to put their own line in domestic fights, and this is what people are excited about. Like this is really probably potentially, you know, these two fights, main the co-main event, have the potential obviously to be fights of the year so early on in February.
Well, this time last year, Peter Carr hadn't got a professional licence, and Jason Harty was out of boxing. Declan Geraghty was retired, and Senan Kelly was after coming off the worst performance of his career. Because of the activity that we've brought to the table, Senan Kelly has won a Celtic title and an Irish title. Declan Geraghty's come out of retirement, picked up a couple of wins, got a Celtic title. Peter Carr is in line. His next fight is a title fight, and Jason Harty's back, and he's had a fight. He came back onto one of our cards. He had another fight, and now he's going into his first title fight. That's 12 months, and that 12 months wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for activity. And again, Jason Harty, not my fighter. Peter Carr, not my fighter. So 2 of the 4 fighters we just said there weren't even my fighters. So we're willing to work and build these kids for people, because again, it's not about me, it's not about JB, it's about boxing in Ireland. And what we've done is we've given these young lads an opportunity to get active, get progressing, and build their careers. And I think that them 4 fighters in it have just proved that what I just said there proves it in a nutshell what has happened in 12 months down to our activity.
Obviously, 2 evidence obviously on the card as well, obviously, and Sean Tyndall and bayo. Main names.
Alibi.
I thought I was off in a good one in 2025. Alibi, is it?
Alibi.
And you also have obviously standout amateur and Dean Walsh on the card as well. Like, who would have thought like 12 months ago that you'd be able to bring these caliber of fighters onto your show? So it shows again in the cards themselves the progress that's being made.
Yeah, but again, Dean's not my fighter. Dean is a Conlon boxing fighter. He's managed by Mick Conlon, so no problems. Mick wants to keep Dean busy, so he came to us, who was constantly running shows in the south, and he just said, "Look, can we get him on a show?" We said, "Yeah," and we're going to look at keeping him busy as well. And we discussed with Jamie previously about having Gareth Dowell on our shows and that. So again, we're just working with everyone and keeping people busy, and that's exactly what we're doing. And people are signing with us because they see us running shows consistently.
How are we looking tickets wise for obviously both shows, obviously on February 8th and February 15th?
Well, because you're not selling them online, you never really know exactly. But I don't tell fighters what they have to sell. I ask fighters what they want to sell. And that's, I think, a bit of a difference. So I'm hoping they've asked me for tickets. They shouldn't be wanting to get them back. So I won't know till we're 10 days out from both fights exactly how it's going. But I believe it's going okay. February 15th is there's a lot of tickets requested on that one. I actually have some with me today. I have to pack up for a few of the lads. But yeah, no, February 15th is really a really big demand on tickets on that one. More than we've ever had, which is good. February 8th, I'm new. I'm coming to Belfast. I'm new. This press conference this week is just to introduce us as a company, and introduce the fighters. Some of them are new debutants. A lot have never sat in front of a camera in Belfast. I want to let them introduce themselves to, please God, some media up there, and get people to know them, get people to buy into their personalities, and potentially have them as a fan. And we just feel it's important. It's a learning experience for these young lads to sit in front of a press conference, and that's why I'm doing it. It's not 50-50, 2 lads having a 50-50 and they're going to be really needle. It's just an introductory to us coming to Belfast, to thank the people of Belfast for welcoming us, because I've got a lot of texts and a lot of contacts coming to me through social media. If you need that up here, if you need this, if you need that, different services and things like that. So it's my way of just introducing myself and the team, thanking the people of Belfast for making us feel so welcome, and then to introduce the fighters to the media and to the people, and hopefully it'll be the start of something good for the future for Belfast and Irish boxing.
Definitely. Well, look, obviously we'll leave it there. Obviously, we said we're going to leave it short and sweet today. Obviously, I'm going to get to see you again on Saturday for obviously the press conference. Obviously, I'm not sure if we'll have any more news to come between now and then, but obviously it's great to see that a great start to the year. Like by February 15th, we'll have already done 3 shows, in Irish boxing. So it seems like 2025 is hopefully maybe going to be a 20+ card. Hopefully, all being well for the full year.
Yeah, well, we 1, 2, 3. Yeah, well, I think we're going to be at about 8 this year between both. So I think we'll be at 8 to 9 this year.
Well, look, obviously, thanks for coming on and having a chat as always.
Thank you. I just wanted to say to you as well. Just wanted to say, put it out there. I seen your post there the other day. It was actually, I didn't see it. I don't know where it was that day. I don't know if I was traveling or whatever it was. Someone actually screenshot it and said that you were potentially getting out of this game or going part time in this game and the whatnot. Well, you might not like me throwing this at you on the spot, but I said it before in the last interview, another interview. What you do for us is priceless, and not us. I mean boxers in general. There's no media covering boxing, really. I know Mark's getting a bit at the minute because there's the BBC and that up there, and Belfast seems to support their fighters a lot more than down the south does because, you know, reasons and all that. But I just think all boxers, managers, promoters, coaches really need to look and support the people who are growing their fighters media-wise, because boxing is about selling tickets. Call a spade a spade. It is what it is. That's what it is. And to sell tickets, you need to be in the public eye. And the only way of getting in the public eye with media and things like that is through yourself and through Irish boxing and the whole lot. Your yoke that you set up, the €5 or £5 a month thing, the group, the WhatsApp group, and the getting early access to interviews and all. Every Irish boxer should really say what's £5 a month, because if they done £5 a month, 60 quid a year, they're getting to stand in front of you with a t-shirt on and point out every logo and say thanks to this company, that company, that company, that company, that company for sponsoring me, the whole lot. And then they can snip at that and send it to the sponsor. There you are, pal. I gave you as a good mention there in an interview done the other day, and that went out to X amount of thousand. Guarantee when they go back to that sponsor next year, he'll sponsor them again if they can show that consistently. And they only get that through the likes of yourself and the other boxing media. But for what you do, I think the £5 a month was even cheap. But I really ask, and I'm reaching out and saying this to every Irish professional boxer, manager, coach, you know, lads, a £5 a month. Let's support the people who support us. They're the ones who are at all our shows. They're the ones who are promoting and pushing out our dates, sharing our posters week by week, sitting down, doing interviews, introducing your fighters to the world of boxing and going out there to a big audience. So let's thank them and let's show appreciation for them, boys. I just have something to say on that. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot there, Marty, but when I seen it the other day, I was like, Jesus Christ, man, you know.
Well, listen, thanks very much as always for everything you're doing. They obviously help. And we'll catch up with you on Saturday.
Yeah, 100%, pal. Thank you again
Good
for your
day, take
time.
care.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.